So this is about a guy that GW is suing because he has miniatures. He has a company for miniatures, and some of them does look like Games Workshop's miniatures, but they are not suing him for copyright infringement. They're suing him for unfair competition, and that's because he sells STLs and GW does not sell STLs. And with STLs, you can 3D print your own things. This is where the problem lies. Now let's hear from Majorkill because he has a company and he knows what he's talking about. So for this kind of a thing, I think that he can definitely say something. So let's hear him.
Hey guys and gal, no, don't worry, this isn't drama, I haven't killed anyone or said any slurs or anything, at least not on camera. There is, however, quite an interesting and almost unprecedented situation happening in the miniature space right now. Games Workshop is suing GHAMAK, one of the largest third-party miniature companies in the world, featuring a team of 12 modelers who have produced thousands of models and licensed their models to dozens of stores. There is a very high chance you've seen a GHAMAK model, even if you didn't realize it at the time. Now, as someone who owns my own miniature company and has spoken with the GW legal team in the past, more than once, I am uniquely qualified to speak on this situation and offer my thoughts to give you a bigger perspective on things, with the hope that we can figure out if this is a case of GW bullying a small team of modelers, seeing if they can get away with it as a first step to copyright slamming the entire third-party miniature industry, or if GHAMAK was taking the piss with their models and GW has finally had enough and is rightfully protecting their IP. Now, GW throwing around its lawyers doesn't sound unprecedented, but actually going ahead with the lawsuit is. Usually they just threaten you and you either comply and they move on, or you tell them to suck eggs and they also move on. Them going ahead is actually pretty wild. I will be unbiased in this video. Some people think I'm on GW's payroll and I'm like a secret shill for them, which is retarded. GW don't even have a functioning influencer program, let alone dark money under the table. And I've always called them out when I think they've gone too far. However, I also believe that just because you're a big company and GHAMAK is a small company, that GHAMAK isn't immediately to all criticism.
Hold on. What was that? End of TTS, a sad day in Warhammer 40k fan. I mean, I covered that story, it was like a few years ago by this point, but technically they didn't go after Brava Alpha Boozer. They went after other creators and he just decided to stop doing TTS. They didn't send him cease and desist or anything of the sort. He just decided to not do it, to not risk his channel, but all the videos were already there, so if they want to take him down, they can for every video. But he decided to just not do the finale just because of this. So I covered this many times. So I don't know how Majorkill called GW out because they didn't go to Alpha Boost and said, "Stop it right now, what you're doing." He just decided to do that before anything happens. So I have no idea what that is. This does not seem like a proof that he called them out because they didn't do anything, and in that case at least. But okay, let's continue.
I always called them out when I think they've gone too far. However, I also believe that just because you're a big company and GHAMAK is a small company, that GHAMAK isn't immediately to all criticisms and can do no wrong. The purpose of this video is to draw attention to the matter and provide all perspectives on it, because regardless of who is in the right or wrong, more people being aware of it is never a bad thing. Now let's get into it. So GHAMAK released a video detailing the situation, his previous interactions with GW, and how it appears that GW is going ahead with the lawsuit, posting his GoFundMe to help with the legal fees. I'll have his video linked below, and if you want to support him, the link to his GoFundMe is on that video. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to assume that everything GHAMAK says in his video is 100% accurate. GHAMAK says that in 2023, GW reached out and does the usual GW legal strategy. They say, "Fuck you, you're infringing, here is a big scary letter, remove most of your models and suck my penis." After all, I got a similar letter a number of years ago, so did a number of other people. For some people, especially smaller modelers, they will freak out and instantly comply. However, most will come to some sort of agreement. For me, I removed a number of my models that I agree probably went too far in the inspiration department, and I also removed all STLs from my store. Keep that second point in mind. It's very important and I'll come back to it. GW accepted this and we haven't had an issue since. However, in GHAMAK's case, GW went pretty hard, asking for 90% of the models to be taken down, for GHAMAK to hand over all their data and creative rights, and GW refused to speak to them beyond just big scary legal letters. In this instance, it's clear GW just wanted to smash GHAMAK.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that if they ask for like so many of the models to be taken down, that's just not fair because yeah, some of them really look very close to GW and he's gonna show that, we're gonna see it. I would say just ask for these because they're really close, but others that have nothing to do, by design, nothing, absolutely nothing to do with 40k by design. They shouldn't be taken down. So I think that GW seems to be very far off on that point for sure. This seems very unfair, this particular part. If they just ask for only the models that look like theirs to be taken down, I totally get it. But 90 something percent, that's just crazy and totally uncalled for.
As opposed to getting a level of submission that they could take to the exec team and be like, we got another one to fall in line. GHAMAK refused, and often in these situations, GW will just sort of move on, as it's not really worth their time. And I'll explain why they do that in a bit. I just want to finish giving you the context of the situation first. But in this case, GW filed the lawsuit as they do have the copyright and whatnot for EU, and GHAMAK is in Italy. They did not file for copyright infringement, but for unfair competition, which is an interesting one we'll discuss more on. GHAMAK frames this as GW coming for small independent creators, flexing control in an industry that it doesn't own, with a warning that if GHAMAK falls easily, GW will be emboldened to then target all the artists and small companies that make sci-fi or fantasy miniatures, which may even include major minis. Something that I do love is GHAMAK saying that he wants this to go to court, not just to protect himself, but because a court can set a true precedent about how far GW's rights extend and where the artistic freedom and inspiration can begin and be safe. This is a huge point because at the moment it's such a massive grey area. At the end of the day, GW didn't invent elves, dwarves, sci-fi super soldiers, golden warriors, flaming swords, demons, orcs, insectoid cosmic hungering horrors, and so on. Warhammer itself was massively inspired by Lord of the Rings, Dune, and even Star Wars, so it is a bit of an eyebrow raiser when they try to act like they are the source of all sci-fi and fantasy tropes and designs.
Yeah, that's another thing. Although 40k basically transformed a lot of the old types of concepts about characters like the orcs and elves, in this case Eldar, so they look completely original and they have their own original lore, so they absolutely did their job in making sure that whatever they have is strictly unique. So although they didn't invent the concepts or they didn't invent the orcs or the elves or whatever, they made sure that their orcs and elves and whatever are extremely amazing and original. So there's that. I'm just saying. For those of you that joined a bit late, we already went through the Mike Brooks topic. So now we are on the second topic, which is the GW lawsuit against this guy from Italy who has his own company for, well, basically 3D printed minis.
For example, the Big E model is a big golden warrior wielding a flaming sword and has a king's cloak and kind of looks like a sexy version of Jesus. None of those aspects by themselves are original GW concepts or designs. But there is a line. You can't just say, well, GW doesn't own sci-fi, so I can make my own space marines in the exact same style as theirs and expect no consequences. Does GHAMAK cross that line? For a large chunk of their range, no, not at all. Their Akai Shogunate models represent mythological feudal Japan and are awesome. I would even say that their Siderim Knights, despite obviously being space marine proxies, are also fine. Their style is different, their proportions are different. They seem to be like a fresh take and not just a 3D printable GW space marine.
Yeah, these look absolutely so different that GW cannot say that they're theirs. Like, absolutely not.
Army. But some of their models do take the piss. Mostly their Heretic Knight models. Their Hellbrutes and Obliterators are
Yeah. This is obviously too close. Like, look at that. I mean, I see the differences, but that is too close. It is very close.
very similar to official models, as is their Demon Prince.
What the hell? Oh, that's not good. That's just not a good look. I mean, they changed the sword, but everything else, they changed it. I mean, they changed the claw, one arm, how the head looks. Still, it's very similar.
The Belial proxy is also a bit on the nose, alongside a number of their other Dark Angel inspired models. Now, based on my own experience, why is GHAMAK getting hit so hard whilst other modelers aren't? Why is GW not coming after me? After all, a lot of other models have also made very inspired models. Well, it's two reasons. The first is that GHAMAK offers the STLs for all of his minis. That's his business model. Either his Patreon members who get the minis, or people buying the STLs from My Mini Factory or Colts 3D or whatever. Or from GHAMAK leasing his models to stores who 3D print and sell his models, like on Etsy or websites like Wargame Exclusive. It's all STL based. GW hates STLs. See, GW knows that no one can really compete with them truly in the physical miniature market. They have insane, amazing, expensive machines, insanely efficient large-scale processors. GW Plastic is awesome. They are dominant in the market because their models are dope, not just in terms of design but also in quality. 3D printing has come a long way and the detail and quality is insane, and you can get incredible resin casted models, but the GW Plastic is just another level. The barrier to entry into that market is so cost prohibitive that no one can really compete to that level, so people buy GW models despite the insane GW price tags. However, the STLs are the one thing that GW doesn't sell and cannot compete with, which is what I believe they are referring to when they say unfair competition. GHAMAK making GW proxies and then selling those files to people who can print entire Warhammer armies at next to no cost is what is really ruffling their feathers. If GHAMAK was a physical store that didn't sell STLs, I can almost guarantee they wouldn't have been contacted, and if they were, it wouldn't have then led to a lawsuit. This is also why GW isn't coming after the stores selling physical GHAMAK models. They aren't worried about physical model competitors, just the STL ones. The second issue is GHAMAK's approach to what models they make. For Major Minis, we make models that are inspired by characters that don't have their own models, such as Ra, or maybe the models are out of production or old as shit, such as the Shark Daddy, or are inspired by a blend of IPs, such as the Chaotic Lich Lord or the Grey Slayer, or they are just entirely unique designs, such as the Wolf Master of the Hunt. We don't make one-to-one proxies of modern GW models. In fact, we often delist our models, such as our Space Elf Avenger Lord, when GW releases their version. And that is without GW contacting us. We want you to use our models to enrich your army and make it unique, not just to replace it. GHAMAK's approach, on the other hand, is more along the lines of, why pay $1,000 for the GW army when you can get the proxy STL files for $100 and $50 worth of resin? I'm not saying that makes them a bad person or anything, but I just want to give context on why someone like GHAMAK is a target for GW, whereas other companies like Major Minis are not. As probably a better example than Major Minis, Grimskull Miniatures are very inspired, yet because they sell their models exclusively as physicals and they're selling unique hero units as opposed to proxy armies, they aren't really what GW is worried about. In my own honest opinion, I think GW should have been more forthcoming with the dialogue, as opposed to just sending an insane letter of demand followed up by a lawsuit. That's just a dog move. That kind of behavior honestly really hurts GW's approach to this. There are ways to go about things. Yeah, there are definitely models in GHAMAK's catalog that take the piss a bit. Yes, I can understand why GW isn't happy that another company is releasing a fully 3D printable army that closely resembles theirs and can be a cheap knockoff replacement, but swinging their lawyers' dongs around just isn't a good look, nor is the way they should approach it. Either way, I'm interested to see how this will go, and the precedent set will be a great indicator for the rest of the industry. As I said, GHAMAK's video will be linked below, and his GoFundMe link is on that video as well. Honestly, I might even donate to it myself, despite me being somewhat on the fence, just purely so GHAMAK has the fees to get to court and set the legal precedents. Anyway, hope you learned something. Back to the regular law programming.
So yeah, I do agree with what he says. Sounds completely logical. I really hope that they can fight GW in court with that and yes, set a precedent, because we do have to know for sure whether or not STLs can be used or no. Technically, it's a bit ridiculous to let a company like GW just say, no, you cannot use STLs because we said so, because it's unfair competition, because we don't sell them. If they sold them, they will still say, well, we're also selling them, so yeah, you can sell them. So you can win in both cases. That's how it seems like. But in the other hand, they shouldn't be able to say to people what they can or cannot sell. If you want original GW products, you're gonna still go and buy original GW products. If you want something that kind of looks like that, you're gonna buy the kind of looks like that because you can't afford to buy the GW product. Because GW products are very freaking expensive. It's kind of like with gaming. If you can't buy a game, but you want to try it, sometimes you can pirate it. That's what people do, I'm saying. They pirated the game, they play it, they don't like it, then delete it. They never plan to pay for the real game. They never plan to do that. So the company never lost money. The other variant is I or someone, I'm not saying me, but someone, cannot afford to buy a game. Cannot. So they pirate the game again, they play it fully, they like it, and that's it. The company doesn't get anything, but the point still stands that this person could not afford to buy the game in the first place, so the company didn't lose any money. You see? That's how things are in some countries. So technically, in this kind of a way, if somebody can afford to buy the STLs and print their own models and they prefer this method, they're going to do that anyway. And GW, since they do not offer this service and this method, these files, they cannot be mad that somebody else is doing this as a new way to approach things. That's just how I think, because it's fair game if you sell something that somebody else doesn't offer. You cannot be like, no, I'm the only one who offers this or doesn't, or I'm the only one who offers these particular products, but you cannot offer something that will totally be an alternative to people. You cannot. Like, why not? I mean, this is totally different, and some people absolutely can, and should have the possibility to go for something else. Just another variant, because once again, the GW, whatever it is, it's so extremely expensive. And if you live in a country where my currency it's worth 2 times less than the dollar, almost 2 times, then for me, this means that whatever they're selling is going to be 2 times more expensive. So anything that has to do with 3D printing, if I can give a STL file to a friend to 3D print it for me, that's going to be amazing, because now now I can have my cake and eat it too, and I still didn't pay anything to the GW. In the Chinese site, you can find the Emperor of Mankind as a miniature, and GW doesn't sell that. They don't. Is it fair? Is it fair for GW to go and say to the Chinese companies, you should not sell the Emperor? But he's not called the Emperor. He's called like Golden Warrior or something. I mean, can you even find him? It's very hard to find him if you want to find him. So, as you can see, I'm pretty sure that this guy is going to gather the money. Hopefully he does, and hopefully he wins, so there's some freedom, because GW is already $1 billion company, and people that are true fans and don't care about the controversies around the company and whatever, and they want their authentic original Warhammer 40k armies, they're always going to prefer to buy from GW. Always. They're getting the best quality there and all those things.
For the imperium must not fail. Imperium we prevail. The warriors march with sacred might. Their purpose burning crystal bright. To lift the throne world from its plight and guard humanity's light.